How you doing there? Welcome back to Babylon Talmud. Today we're studying daf. So interesting. Okay, first of all, I gotta say, I was just having some issues with the mic. I hope we're not gonna have any issues and stuff. I hope that we're not gonna have any issues and stuff. I restarted my phone, and I hope we're not gonna have any issues and stuff. Okay. So the funny thing is that we're starting like on Ayin Vav Muralf, but the truth is today we're studying Daf Ayin Zayin. I hope everybody enjoyed the vacation yesterday. Send us photos, share them in WhatsApp. I have coffee over here. We're basically, honestly, like we're kind of studying like Ayin Vav kind of, but the truth is today's Daf is Ayin Zayin. So we're basically starting on Daf Ayin Vav Mud Aleph, halfway through the Amud. But we're going to get to the bottom of Daf, about the bottom of Daf Ayin Zayin and Beis. So this week has been funny dafs, big ones, small ones. Yeah, interesting that like yesterday's daf was like an hour and 20 minutes, or 2 days ago's daf was like an hour and 20 minutes, followed by like Ayin Zayin and Aleph, which is like 2 lines. Talking about extremes over here. All right, let's go weiter. So we're going to start on Daf Ayin Vav Mud Aleph. Halfway through the Amud by the 2 dots. Reb Shimon Omer Param v'chulei. So Reb Shimon had said in our Mishnah that Kodshim Shechai B'Achrayusan. Look at them. What Kodshim Shechai B'Achrayusan is. Kodshim Shechai B'Achrayusan is like a neder, right? A fellow says, "I'm going to bring a korban olah." So he then sets aside a korban. If something happens to that korban, he has to set aside a different korban, right? So long as he hasn't brought a korban olah like he said he's going to, so he still needs to. A nedava would be if he says, "I'm going to bring this animal as a korban." So if something happens to that animal, he can't bring it as a korban. Okay? Oh well. He has no responsibility to bring a different one instead. So it says Reb Shimon that Kodshim Shechai B'Achrayusan, there's going to be Daled Vei. Kodshim She'ein Chai B'Achrayusan, so then there is no Daled Vei. So says the Gemara, Amr. Nihi Desav Reb Shimon, Mali Machur Lehedjit, Mali Machur Lashamayim. Okay, so you could say that, why does Reb Shimon say that you're chayiv daled v'hei? Well, for the rationale of, if he sells it to somebody else, he would be chayiv daled v'hei. So if he be'etzim sells it to God, right, it's no longer in his possession, it's in God's possession. Now that should be considered like a mechira, like a sale, and should be chayiv daled v'hei. But even so, ipcha miboile. If that's the case, that Reb Shimon is saying that we treat selling to hektish like selling, we treat being maktir something like a mechira, then I would argue that the opposite should be true. That kodshim shechai b'achrayusan should be potter, and kodshim she'eino chai b'achrayusan should be chayiv. How come? Well, because if you say davar gorim l'mamun k'mamun dami, that's something that causes money, it's still considered like mamun, right? Meaning, so kodshim shechai b'achrayusan, that if something happens to the animal, you're going to be on the line to bring a new one. So it's davar gorim l'mamun, something that causes other money to be spent. Is kimamun dami, it's still considered like it belongs to the ganif, right? So if the ganif steals the animal, the ox, and then is being maktish it. So if we're saying that it's like a mechira, but if it's kodshim shechai b'achrayusan, so then it's davar gorim l'mamun. And if we say davar gorim l'mamun k'mamun dami, it's not a proper sale because it's still in the rishus of Shimon the Ganif. So I would think that if we're treating it like a sale, so I would think fakir that kodshim shechai b'achrayusan would be davar gorim l'mamun k'mamun dami, that would not be a sale, and you'd be potter from daled v'hei, whereas kodshim she'eino chai b'achrayusan would not be considered like mamun, and would not be considered like it still belongs to Shimon even after he's makdish it, and in that case I should be chayiv daled v'hei. So I would think that it should be punkt fakert. I'm going to drink more coffee. Okay, so let's start again. So Reb Shimon, so even if we say that Reb Shimon holds that he's chayiv daled v'hei because it's basically just like, right, being makdish it to God or selling it to your friend is basically the same inyan. But if it should be fakert. Kodshim shechai b'achrayusan, kodshim that you're chayiv b'achrayusan should be davar gorim l'mamun k'mamun dami, it should be like it's still in his possession, and therefore potter, he should be potter from Dal Vehei Dakati Lo Nofek Mishusei, because it will not be considered like it has, or how about this? It will be considered like it has not yet left his possession. Whereas Kachim She'enu Chai B'Achrayuson, Chayiv, it should be Chayiv Dal Vehei Demafkile Mershusei, because then it's actually considered like it has left his domain. Ami Reb Shimon Amilsa Achrisei Koi. So they say Reb Shimon is taka going on something else. Ve'hachi katani. This is what Reb Shimon is saying. In agonev achar aganif mishalin tashlumei daled vehei. So if Shimon steals an ox from Reuven, and then Levi steals it from Shimon and slaughters it, there's no daled vehei. V'chein, and similarly, hagonev hekdish mibes bailim potter. Similarly, it's not talking about where Shimon stole Reuven's ox and then Shimon was makdish it. It's talking about where Reuven was makdish's ox and then Shimon stole it. Okay? And then he slaughters it. Okay? So we're saying that in that case, he's going to be potter from Daled Vehei. Right? So it says potter. And Reb Shimon is commenting on that. My time, how come we're saying that if Reuven is makdish's ox and Shimon steals it and slaughters it, he's potter from Daled Vehei? Where am I? My time, how come? V'gunav mi beis ha'ish v'lo mi beis hektish. Because the pasuk says in the context of Kefel and Daled Vehei that v'gunav mi beis ha'ish, that has to be stolen from Reuven v'lo mi beis hektish and not from hektish. So therefore he's potter from Daled Vehei. Reb Shimon Omer, and on that Reb Shimon comments, Kodshim shechayev b'achrayuson, that when it comes to Kodshim shechayev b'achrayuson, that Reuven is going to have to offer bring a different korban instead. Chayev. So then, if Shimon steals, okay, there you go, right? So, and then Shimon is commenting that, well, if Reuven was makdish his ox, and he says, I'm going to bring a korban shlomim, let's say, and then if something happens to the ox, so he has to bring a different ox. So to davar goyim limamun, so therefore it's still considered like it is Reuven's. Right, so Kachim Shchayev B'Achrayuson Chayev, you would be Chayev Dalvei. My time, how come Karina Bey V'Gunav Mi Beis Ha'ish? Because we would consider it that it was stolen from Reuven, since it's since it's Kachim Shchayev B'Achrayuson, it's Davar Gorim the Mammon is Kemam Adami. It's still considered like Reuven's. Therefore, when Shimon steals it and slaughters it, he's going to be Chayev Dalvei because it's going to be considered V'Gunav Mi Beis Ha'ish that it was stolen from Reuven. But if it was Kachim she'eino chai b'achrayuson, right? If he says, I'm going to bring this ox as a korban shlomim, and then Shimon steals it, so Reuven doesn't have to replace it, so it's not considered like Reuven's anymore. So then dulo karin and be v'gunov mi beis ha'ish, we don't consider it to be that it was stolen from Reuven, since it's Kachim she'eino chai b'achrayuson. And therefore it's going to be for, like he steals from Hektish rather than from Reuven, and therefore he's going to be potter from Daled Vehei. Okay, fine. But now, fact the Gemara, Michte, I don't understand. Reb Shimon is saying that if Reuven is makdish this ox to be, and it's Kachim Shchai B'Achrayus, and he makes an eder. Okay, so Reb Shimon is saying that if Shimon steals this animal and he slaughters it, so he's going to be chayiv daled vehei, right? Because it's still considered like Reuven's. It's not like it's considered stole from Hektish. It's considered he stole it from Reuven. But the Gemara asks Akashi, says, but I don't understand. At the end of the day, Shaminu le Reb Shimon da'amar shchita she'enu ruya lo shma shchita, ha. But of course we know that Reb Shimon's opinion is that shchita she'enu ruya lo shma shchita, that shchita that is, in inappropriate shchita is not considered shchita. Meaning, so therefore, in order to be chayiv daled vehei for slaughtering, it has to be a proper slaughter. But slaughtering a korban outside of the Beis Hamikdash is certainly not a proper slaughter, so it shouldn't be considered tvicha, and therefore it should be potter from daled vehei. if Shimon steals Reuven's korban and then slaughters it, you can't slaughter a korban outside of the Beis Hamikdash. So therefore, it should not be considered shchita, and if it's not shchita, then he's not chayiv d'alvei. Right? Again, Michle Shaminu that Reb Shimon dam shchita sheneruya lo shma shchita. So kachim nami shchita sheneruya hi. So if Shimon slaughters Reuven's ox outside the Beis Hamikdash, it's shchita sheneruya. Why is he chayiv d'alvei? Even if it's kachim shchayiv b'achrayusa. So Kiyasur Rav Dimi Omer Rav Yechanan, when Rav Dimi came, says in Rav Yechanan, B'shochet tmimim b'fnim l'shem bailim. So says Rav Dimi in the name of Rav Yechanan, well, it's talking about, it's not shchut echutz, right? It's not talking about where Shimon slaughtered Reuven's korban outside of the Beis Hamikdash. He brought it to the Beis Hamikdash and slaughtered it there. So it was a kosher shchita. Well, if that's the case, then Givaldig. He just did he saved Reuven a trip to the Beis Hamikdash. Full service. Reuven was makdish the animal. Shimon picks it up, takes it to the Beis Hamikdash, slaughters it for him. Sounds like a great service. What's the problem? Why should he be chayiv d'alvei? So Omer Reb Yitzchak bar Oven shenishpach adam. Says Reb Yitzchak bar Oven, well, it wasn't exactly a happy ending. The blood, after it was collected, spilled on the floor. So he's not going to be yotzei his chiyuv. So therefore, the shchita was a proper shchita because it was slaughtered as a korban in the Beis Hamikdash. So therefore, it would be considered tvicha, but it doesn't count as a korban for Reuven because the blood spilled on the floor. So Shimon stole Reuven's hektish chayiv b'achrayuson and then slaughtered it in the Beis Hamikdash. So he's going to be chayiv d'alvei. All right, interesting ukimta. Ki also Ravin Omer Rabbi Yechanan b'shoichet tmimim b'fnim shelo l'shem ba'alim. Oh, so it says Ravin in the name of Rabbi Yechanan that it's not talking about where the blood spilled on the floor. What it's talking about is Shimon slaughtered Reuven's korban in the Beis Hamikdash, but he did not have the intention of Reuven, right? He didn't have Reuven's intention, and therefore the shchita itself, even if it was not lishma, even if there wasn't the proper intention, is still a kosher shchita. But the korban won't work for Reuven, so therefore it was a proper shchita. So it's chayiv d'alvei, but at the same time, Reuven isn't yotzei, so therefore he has to pay. That is why Shimon has to pay dalet vehei. Rish Lakish says Rish Lakish b'shochet b'alei mumin b'chutz. Rish Lakish says that it's talking about where the animal had a mum. And he slaughtered that, and because it had a mum, it wasn't actually a korban, and therefore it's not an issue of shchut echutz. And therefore, shchut echutz, of course, being slaughtering an animal, a korban outside of the Beis Hamikdash. So Rish Lakish says, well, it's talking about where the animal had a mum, and therefore it was not a kosher korban, and that's why he's it couldn't be offered as a korban, and therefore there's not an issue of shchut echutz. So when he slaughters it, it's a proper slaughter, and therefore be chayiv dalet v'hei. Okay, drink more coffee. All right. Toiba Rebbe Elazar. Now Rebbe Elazar doesn't understand. Rabbi Yechanan v'chi shchita materes v'alo zrika materes. Rabbi Yochanan had said that it's talking about where, certainly according to Rav Dimi, who said that the blood spilled on the floor. But I guess even according to Ravin, who says that it's about the shchita shelo l'shem bailim, or maybe in that case there wouldn't be zrika since there wasn't proper kavanah. So meaning, what Rabbi Elazar's kasha is, I don't understand why is Rabbi Yochanan saying, well, there was a proper shchita and there of this korban, and therefore is chayav d'alvei. But so long as there isn't zrikas hadam, a proper zrikas hadam, it's not a proper shchita of the korban, in which case it shouldn't be considered a proper shchita, and therefore Shimon should still be, it should still be not considered a proper shchita, so then there shouldn't be d'alvei. Right, so again, so Toiber Belazar is wondering. I don't understand. It's not all about the shchita. You have to also do zrikas adam. So long as you have it, it's not a proper shchita. So then, if it's not proper shchita, there should not be dalvei. L'Rish Lakish, and according to Rish Lakish, v'chishchita materes, balupadia materes. And according to Rish Lakish, you can't just slaughter a korban that gets a mum. It's still holy. You have to redeem it first before you can slaughter it. So just slaughtering it without redeeming it is not a proper shchita. So again, Shimon should be potter from dalvei. Ishtamitze hadur Reb Shimon. However, Rabbi Lazar had slipped his mind that which Reb Shimon says, which is kol ha'omed lizrok kizaruk domi, v'chol ha'omed liftos kipari domi. That any korban that stands to have zrikas adam, it's considered like zrikas adam has been zrikat adam, and any korban that stands to be redeemed, it's like it has been redeemed. So meaning, when he slaughters that korban, so then it's considered like the zrikas adam, at least to the extent that it would be considered a proper shchita. I guess at least it's like considered like the shchita. Once you've had the proper shchita, it's considered like it's been zrikas adam, and therefore it's considered a kosher shchita. And also, in the case of redeeming the animal that has a mum, we consider it like, I guess in this sense, at least with regard to shchita, like it's already been redeemed, and it would be a proper shchita. And that is why Rabbi Yochanan says he would be chayiv dal v'hei, and Rish Lakish says he would also be chayiv dal v'hei. How do we know that anything that stands to be zrikas adam is considered like it's zrikas adam? The Tanya, as we learn in the Brayso, Reb Shimon almost says, Reb Shimon, yesh noser sheu mitami tumas ochlin, v'yesh noser she'enu mitami tumas ochlin. Woof. Okay, what's tumas ochlin? Tumas ochlin is that food can become tummy. Okay, what's noser? Noser is that an animal needs to be eaten within a certain time frame. So, for example, korban toda can be eaten the day that it's offered, plus the following night. Comes the next morning, it's noser. You can no longer eat it. You have to burn it. I believe it's also ba'no. So now says Reb Shimon that there could be noser leftovers that are able to be mekabel tumas ochlin, and there are examples of noser that are unable to be mekabel tumas ochlin. Now, if it's also ba'ano and it's also ba'achila, so then it cannot become tamei tumas ochlin, right? It has to be something right, that is mutter ba'ano, then that's considered ochel in order for it to be tamei tumas ochlin. If it's also ba'ano, so it won't be tamei tumas ochlin. So now, noser is also ba'ano. And yet, Reb Shimon is saying that there could be examples of scenarios where noser it can become tamei tumas ochlin, even though it's also ba'anoya. So again, so Reb Shimon almost says, Reb Shimon, yesh noser she'mitami tumas ochlin, v'yesh noser she'enu mitami tumas ochlin. That there are examples of noser which could become tamei tumas ochlin, but there are, of course, also examples of noser which would not be able to receive tumas ochlin. Ketzad, how is this? Lon lifnei zrika enu mitami tumas ochlin. That if lon, what's lon? Lon is that it remains overnight, not on the mizbeach. So if it went overnight without going on the mizbeach, and it was, where am I? Lon lifnei zrika, and lina happened before zrikas adam. Enu mitame tumas ochlin, so then it will not be able to become tamei tumas ochlin. But le'achar zrika, if lina happened after the zrikas adam, so then, right? Meaning lina is that if the animal doesn't go, right? If the parts that need to go on the mizbeach don't go on the mizbeach by by the end of the night, so we're saying that if this happened before zrikas adam, so then it would not become tamei tumas ochlin. The achar zrikas adam, if this happened after zrikas adam and tamei tumas ochlin, so then it would be able to become Tamei Tumas Ochlin. And we hold my lifnei Zrikas Zrika. What does it mean before Zrikas Adam? Kodem Shenire Lizrika. Meaning, if it never had an opportunity for Zrikas Adam, so that right, there simply was not enough time to have done Zrikas Adam. Right? Where Amal Lifnei Zrika, Kodem Shenira Lizrika, before there was able to be Zrikas Adam. Lachar Zrika, if it was after Zrikas Adam, Lachar Shenira Lizrika, after it was able to have Zrikas Adam, Kodem Shenira Lizrika Lon Maihi. What does it mean that if it's that if the korban stayed off from the Mizbeach all night before it was able to have Zrikas Adam? So the Lo Havyo shows Bayom Lemizrake. It means that there wasn't enough time in the day left in the day to do Zrikas Adam. The Shachti Samach L'Shkias Achama, that the Shchita happened right before Shkias Achama, right before Shkia, and there simply wasn't enough time to do Zrikas Adam. Ve'enu Mitame Tumas Ochlin, and it does not become Tomei Tumas Ochlin, cannot receive Tumas Ochlin, because there was no opportunity to have done Zrikas Adam before the end of the day. La'achar Shenira Lezrika, but after there was an opportunity to do Zrikas Adam, Lun, there was Lina Dahavya shows Bayom the Mizrake, that there was enough time left in the day to have been able to do Zrikas Adam. Well then, Mitame Tumas Ochlin, then it can receive Tumas Ochlin, Alma from your Risikala Omi Lizrok, Kizar's dummy. Wow, that was a mouthful. So anything that is able to be Zrikas Adam, it's considered like it's Zrikas Adam. Meaning, as long as you slaughter that korban tota, or whatever the korban it is, as long as you slaughter it, and there's still enough time to do Zrikas Adam left in the day, so then it will become Tamei Tumas Ochlin, because it would be considered like there was an opportunity to have done Zrikas Adam, and that's enough to consider it like Zrikas Adam it has been done to the extent, at least, that it will be considered like it's ochel, like it's food that is able to contract, or maybe contract is what I'm looking for. Tumas Ochlin. Wow. Okay. Drinking some more coffee. And anything which stands to be redeemed is like it's redeemed. The Tanya is within a Bais Reb Shimon says Reb Shimon, Pare, that if you slaughter a Pare Aduma, Mitami Tumas Ochlin, the meat can become Tamei Tumas Ochlin. Hol V'Aisel Shasa Kosher, we literally just did Daf Ayin Zayin Amud Aleph in like 10 seconds. Hol V'Aisel Shasa Kosher, since there was a time for it to have become, to have been redeemed, and that was when it was V'Amar Rish Lakish, says Rish Lakish, or Mahari Reb Shimon would say, Para Niftes Agabi Ma'irachta, that you can be podeh a Para Aduma on the pyre, that they would take the Para Aduma to a pyre and they would slaughter it there, and it could be redeemed there, and since it's possible for it to be redeemed, we can treat it as though it was redeemed. So Amakol Omi Liftos Kiparidami, that anything that stands to be redeemed is treated like it has been redeemed, and therefore tying it back in. So yes, according to Rabbi Yochanan, Shimon would be Chayiv Daled Vehei, because the Shchita would be considered proper Shchita since it stands to have Zrikas Adam, to be Zrikas Adam, so we could treat it like it's Zrikas Adam. And Rish Lakish says that it's an animal that has a mum, and even though it hasn't yet been redeemed, we could treat it as though it has been redeemed, and therefore you can be chayiv for the shchita, you can be chayiv daled vehei. So now, frakta gemara b'shlomi Rabbi Yochanan le'amar Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish. So I understand why Rabbi Yochanan does not say like Rish Lakish, to kaboilu ukma lemasnis nafilu b'tmimin. I can understand why Rabbi Yochanan does not want to say like Rish Lakish, because Rish Lakish is talking about that the korban as a mum. Why would Rabbi Yochanan want to say it's talking about a scenario where the korban has a mum? You'd rather talk about where it's a proper korban, an unblemished korban. El Rish Lakish, my time Rabbi Yochanan. But why does Rish Lakish not say like Rabbi Yochanan that it's talking about a proper korban that was offered in the Beis Hamikdash? Amalach. So Rish Lakish will respond, Utvacho o micharo. Well, because the pasuk in the context of Dal V'Hei says Utvacha o Mecharo, and we compare the Tvicha and the Mechira. Kolega the isay b'mechira, isay b'tvicha. That right, that the tvicha and the mechira go hand in hand, and only so long as it's something that you can sell do we treat it as though it's something that it can be slaughtered with regard to daled vehei. Kolega the leisay b'mechira, and something that cannot be sold, leisay b'tvicha, cannot be slaughtered, right, would not be considered to be slaughtered in the context of daled vehei. V'anei kodshim, and when it comes to a korban, and since you can't sell kodshim, so lesnu betvicha, so there also is not tvicha with regard to daled vehei. V'azdu the taimayu, and both Rabbi Yochanan and Rish Lakish go according to the reasonings. The Omar, the Itmar that was stated on Mocher Treifa, the Divrei Reb Shimon, that somebody who sells a treifa, somebody right, that if you sell a treifa, according to Reb Shimon who says shchita sheneruya lo shmei shchita, so Reb Yochanan Omer Chayev, so Reb Yochanan would say that he'd be chayiv dalvei. One second. Okay, fine. V'Rish Lakish Omer Potter, and Rish Lakish would say Potter. Reb Yochanan Omer Chayev. Rabbi Yochanan says chayiv afal gav deleise betvicha isei b'mechira. V'Rish Lakish Omer Potter came deleise betvicha leise b'mechira. We're talking about daled vehei in the context of a treifa, right? That if I guess Shimon steals and then sells a treifa, so the shaila is, would he be chayiv daled vehei? So now according to Reb Shimon, who says that shchita sheneruya lo shmei shchita. So now slaughtering a treifa is not a proper shchita because it's a treifa. You can't eat it. So it's not considered shchita. So the shaila is, if there's no shchita, so what about mechira? Rabbi Yochanan says, who cares? Fine, so there's no shchita, but there's still mechira, and you can be chayiv daled vehei. Rish Lakish says, it does matter that since there's no shchita, there's also no mechira, and you're potter from daled vehei. Let's read that again. I just have to find the place. Vazul tamayu, and they both go according to the reasoning the itmar that we said amocher treifa, that somebody who a thief, a ganef who sells a treifa. So the divrei Reb Shimon, according to Reb Shimon, who says shchita sheneruya lo shmei shchita, Rabbi Yochanan Omer chayiv. Rabbi Yochanan says still you're chayiv for the mechira. Rish Lakish Omer potter. Rish Lakish says no, you're going to be potter for the mechira. Rabbi Yochanan Omer chayiv. Rabbi Yochanan says you're going to be chayiv for the mechira because afal gav deleise betvicha, even though there's no tvicha yisi b'mechira, there still is. You're going to be chayiv for the mechira. Daled vehei. Rish Lakish Omer potter kevan deleise betvicha leise b'mechira. Rish Lakish says that since there's no tvicha when it comes to a treifa, so then there's also no mechira in terms of daled vehei. Eis v'Rabbi Yochanan and the Rish Lakish. Rabbi Yochanan has a kasha on Rish Lakish, the Reb Shimon ben Lakish. Ganav kilayim v'tavcha. If a fellow steals kilayim and he slaughters it, right, kilayim would be like a combination animal, right? Like a mule. Well, I guess it would have to be a combination. I don't know, of an ox and something else, or maybe I don't know. What about like a sheep and a goat? Could that be what we're talking about? Maybe. So if he steals kilayim v'tovcha and he slaughters it, treifa u'machra, or if he steals a treifa and he sells it, mishalan tashlum arba b'chmisha. So Sitaka pays arba b'chmisha. So we're saying that if he sells a treifa, he's chayiv daled vehei ma'alav Reb Shimoni. And let's say that this is talking about Reb Shimon who says shchita sheneruya lo shmei shchita. So therefore we see that even though there's no tvicha, isei b'mechira, there still is mechira, and you'll be chayiv daled vehei for the mechira. Even though there's no tvicha, you'll still be chayiv daled vehei for the mechira. Amalei lo. Rish Lakish says nisht. Rabbanon. It's the rabbis who say that shchita, that shchita she'ena ru'ya, shmei shchita, that even though it's shchita she'ena ru'ya, it's still considered shchita. And says Rish Lakish, so therefore you're chayiv, according to the Rabbanon, you'd be chayiv for the shchita, and you'd also be chayiv for the mechira. Daled vehei. Rabbanon, but if it's the rabbis, treifa b'mechira isa bezvicha leka, Lesa. But if it's the rabbis, then why are we Zdavka saying that he sold a treifa? He could have also slaughtered the treifa. Why are we Zdavka focusing on that? Right, that he sold the treifa. He could have slaughtered the treifa too. Ve'elamai Reb Shimon. But then what? Is that your argument to say that it can't be the Rabbanan and it has to be Reb Shimon? But kilayim b'tvicha yisib b'mechira leisa. Even according to Reb Shimon, though, why Dafka does it say tvicha by kilayim and not mechira? So Ella tana tvicha v'adin lemechira. So rather, we'll say that when it comes to kilayim, when it says tvicha, it also refers to mechira. So I'll say also according to the rabbis, tana mechira, when it says mechira by the treifa v'adin the tvicha, it's also by the tvicha. For Rabbi Yochanan Amalach, whereas Rabbi Yochanan will respond to Rish Lakish, Hi Mai, Yomid b'shlomo Reb Shimon. Look, I understand if you say that that this Bryce is going according to Reb Shimon, and therefore by either the Tana Treifa Bichada, and therefore since by the Treifa we davka mention Mechira, Tana Kilayim Bichada. So we also mention specifically by Kilayim Tvicha. Right there, Rabbi Yochanan explains, look, right, Rabbi Yochanan is saying that the Bryce is Reb Shimon, and therefore, when it comes to a treifa, you're only going to be chayiv for the mechira, but you're not, of course, going to be chayiv for the tvicha, because tvicha shchita shenu lo shmei shchita. So since by treifa, we could only mention that you be chayiv dalvei for mechira, but not, of course, for tvicha. So therefore, so also by kilayim, even though yes, it applies both tvicha and mechira, but since we can only mention mechira by treifa, so we also only mention tvicha by kilayim. But if Rish Lakish, it's like you're saying that it's the rabbis, that even by a treifa you be chayiv for tvicha as well, because shchita shmei shchita. Well then arvinu v'nesninu. Well then teach both kilayim and treifa together. Gon of kilayim v'treifa. If you steal kilayim or a treifa, tavchon u'becharin, and you slaughter or you sell them, mishan tashlumei BavaKamisha do bidalvei kasha. So let's talk a kasha on Rish Lakish, and we're going to stop here. Wow, we started in Daf Ayin Vav Mud Aleph, and we got to basically the bottom of Daf Ayin Zayin and Beis, and it didn't even take that long. Was it even half an hour? Maybe it's probably about a half an hour. Some technical stuff that we talked about. I mean, hekdish and how you be chayiv for kodshim chayiv achvar yusun. I don't know. Choose. We stopped kind of in the middle. There isn't an interesting thing. It's such interesting gemaras this week. I mean, there isn't really actually an actual stopping point until Ayin Chesem at Beis. So it just goes from like Ayin Vav Mud Aleph, where we started today, until Ayin Chesem at Beis. But anyways, we're going to stop here. We'll pick up from here tomorrow. Peace out.